right, fight fans. Today I'm bringing you my full card prediction for UFC Fight Night, Garry versus Carlos Prates. Starting off with the fan favorite fight, Chelsea Chandler, boys. Chelsea Chandler versus Joselyne Edwards. I mean, who doesn't want to see this fight, boys? Come on. But look, in a serious note, look, Chelsea Chandler she's 2-2 in the UFC. She's actually missed weight in her last two fights. Boys, she's turning 35 years old. And she's 6-3 in the UFC at 35 years old. She's doing this as a side hustle, basically. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, but this is for the people that are betting, you know. Look, Joselyne Edwards, on the other hand, she's 29 years old. She did miss weight in her last fight. And, you know, she's faster than Chelsea Chandler. She has a better record, more experience, all at 29. I feel like this is an easy pick for the bettors. Joselyne, bad decision. Easy. Moving on to Timmy. Why did I say it like that? Timmy Cuamba versus Roberto Romero. Look, Timmy Cuamba only has 2 fights in the UFC, and he has lost the 2 fights in the UFC. He will basically get cut after this fight, because you know how it usually is. If you lose 3 times, you basically get cut. And especially, he only has 2 fights in the UFC, so he lost his only 2 fights, and this third one will be the end right here. And Roberto Romero lost his UFC bout, and this is his second fight in the UFC. So we got a stinker here, but this should be a fun fight. Roberto Romero showed real grit in his debut. He gave David Onama a tough fight. A tough first round, not a tough fight, sorry. A tough first round, and he showed that he belongs, you know. Cuamba is a tough dude, but his fights has been like forgettable. Lots of decisions, not much damage. Romero just seems to bring more urgency, more danger, and I think he can pressure Cuamba and land inside. He can take and look. I think Cuamba will get a decision. I think he's gonna get his hand raised. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's nothing much about this fight, to be honest. Oh my lordy lord. Look, if I'm being completely honest, I don't want to really talk about this fight for a reason, okay? Because look, boys, you never know. I don't want to talk shit about a certain someone, because look, boys, like, I'm just gonna say it. You never know, boys. You can't just be disrespectful to somebody that you know. You never know, boys. But yeah, man, all I'm gonna say is go with the odds, okay? Look, I'm gonna show you the odds. Just go with the odds. I'm not gonna be disrespectful towards you know, boys. Come on. Let's move on to Malcolm Wellmaker versus Cameron Saaimon. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm very bad with names, so I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. For some reason, his records say he's 1-0, but that's not true. His actual record, his overall record, is 8-0. And for some reason, the UFC doesn't display or take time to put it there. I don't know why, but whatever. Has good power, has 2 stoppages in his last 2 fights. Last and only loss of his MMA career was like in 2019. And I also said his record is 8-0. I think it's 8-1 actually, not 8-0. I said that by mistake. But yeah, Cameron Saaimon, if you guys know, like, obviously we saw that fight. He got stopped by Peyton Talbot, which he got fraud checked. Yes, Peyton Talbot got fraud checked. We all know that. Cameron Saaimon is in a 2-fight losing streak, but he does got good power. But look, this is like a very interesting fight, because Saaimon has he has a good pace, good grappling, but he's nothing flashy. And he did get bullied by, you know, Peyton Talbot, that did get freaking fraud checked. And he's up against Malcolm Wellmaker. This guy, don't let the record fool you, man. He's a straight up, he's a knockout threat. I'm telling you, if he lands an overhand, you're going out. Saaimon might be in trouble. Well, look, if Saaimon can survive early and wrestles, he could flip this and get an easy win. But for some reason, I have a feeling that Malcolm Wellmaker will hit that. He'll hit something big and get the finish. I'll say Malcolm Wellmaker by KO. I don't know what round, but it is definitely going to be a KO in my opinion. Moving on to Blackshear versus Alatengheili. Jesus Christ. You know, you guys might think I'm joking when I pronounce these names, but I'm really not. Like, I'm really bad at pronouncing these names, and I don't think I will ever get good at pronouncing these. I'm not even trying to disrespect these fighters. But look, Blackshear has lost to Mauro Bautista. I hate Mauro Bautista, so, you know, for some reason, it's just, I think I'm gonna, for that reason alone, I want to root a little bit for Blackshear because he lost to that animal, Mauro Bautista. He is in a 2-fight winning streak, both by submission. He's a better striker than Alatengheili. Good grappling, good strength. Alatengheili, even though I think Blackshear is a better striker a little bit, or they're even. They're even on the striking. Alatengheili is basically he's just pretty much a striker. I think this is an easy fight to pick. This is going to be Blackshear by submission or decision, one of those two. Like, it's literally 50-50. I don't think Alatengheili has a chance in this fight. Blackshear by submission or decision. Boom. Moving on to Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. For some reason, I can't open up the stats and whatever. Look, man, this fight is kind of interesting because John Castaneda is one of those names that you really like. You say the name and you're like, who? Like, that name sounds so familiar. Like John Castaneda, and you have to like look him up to know who he is, you know. But look, John Castaneda does have wrestling. He's coming from a loss. He's not really not a dangerous fighter, and he's a very forgettable fighter. I'll tell you that right now. Like, you have to look him up to know to remember who he is. No disrespect, but that's just the truth of it. Chris Gutierrez, you know, he's a tough fighter. He doesn't really have good takedown defense. Look, Castaneda's basically like he's a solid fighter. He's a solid fighter, but Gutierrez is such a frustrating guy to fight. He chips away at your legs, throws oblique kicks, manages the distance really well. Unless Castaneda is all over him with his wrestling, it's hard to see him fight. It's hard to me to see him fighting like big moments. This could be a slow technical decision win by Gutierrez. And Gutierrez should edge it out, but by just staying out of range and racking up points. But I don't know. Like, to be honest, I just don't see John Castaneda winning this fight. I think Gutierrez is just going to stay outside, just keep tip-tapping him to death and just getting points, and that's pretty much it. This is just a Chris Gutierrez decision, guys. Like, let's not make it as more complicated than it already is. It's going to be Chris Gutierrez by decision. Moving on to Evan Elder versus Ahmad Hassanzada. Bro, like, you know what's crazy? Like, in my comment section, I always get people telling, like, are you, like, disrespecting these fighters, or are you, like, on purpose mispronouncing these names because you want to get clicks or people, like, engagement for the comment? Like, I seriously can't pronounce these names. Like, these names, I don't know if I have like a speech impediment or I don't know what it is, boys. Like, I'm not joking. I don't know how to pronounce most of these names. And I'm going to have to probably say this in all my videos because it's getting to the point that I'm getting like a comment every single time for that. But look, Evan Elder, this is his UFC debut. He's in a 2-fight winning streak. Ahmad, on the other hand, his actual record. Oh, wait, I misclicked by accident. Did I just stutter? Oh my lord. His actual record is actually 12-3 for, you know, I don't know whether UFC doesn't display their actual record. It's 12-3, lost in the Contender Series by TK in 2022, and then he came back recently, won by decision. But yeah, his UFC bout not that great. This fight is, man, like this fight is not that great. But look, this feels like a prove it fight for both of these guys. You know, like prove that you belong here. You know what I mean? Hassan has the look, long, rangy, athletic, but his game still needs like refining. You know what I mean? Elder's tough. He fights hard and he brings the pace, but he's not going to give anything away for free. Like literally nothing for free. If Hassan can't catch him with something flashy early, Elder can outwork him over 3 rounds for sure. So with that being said, I think Evan Elder will win by decision on this fight. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And this fight right here, boys, oh my lord. Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. Is there odds for this fight? Let me see. I misclicked again. Jesus Christ. Yep. Wow. Okay. Matt Schnell is actually the favorite. That's actually very, very interesting because I don't know, brother. I don't know about these odds, brother. Matt Schnell has literally no chin, and Jimmy Flick is not dangerous on the feet. So, you know, this fight, like, it's so dumb because, again, like I said, Matt Schnell has no chin, but Jimmy Flick is not dangerous to the feet. But look, Schnell has some pop, you know, but let's just be honest. His chin is very, very bad. Flick isn't going, it's not known for his hands, but he's awkward and aggressive. If he gets Schnell to the mat, he could find a choke or at least rack up some control time. Honestly, this fight might just come down who lands first. I'll lean to Flick just because Schnell's durability is always questionable. But yeah, that's my pick. Jimmy Flick by submission or a decision. If I had to pick one, I will go with decision. Moving on, this is, oh my lord, this is a good fight right here. Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. This is a very good fight. Let me see the odds on this. Oh my lord. Minus 650? Yo, that is insane, bro. That is absolutely insane. A minus 650, brother? Holy shit. I mean, look, this is like a very, very super underrated fight. Muniz has Muniz has like an insane 78 reach. He has a very good, sneaky good striking, and he has ridiculous BJJ if he's on top. But Ikram's wrestling is next level compared to Muniz. He might not outstrike Muniz cleanly, but he can definitely take him down and keep him there. Plus, Muniz's ground game off his back isn't as dangerous as people think. If Ikram stays safe and lands some solid ground and pound, he could steal the rounds and win a decision, and that's going to be my decision. Ikram Aliskerov by decision. But this is a very underrated fight. I cannot wait. This might steal the show. I'm actually not. I can't really say that because this is Prates versus Ian Garry. What am I talking about? Steal the show. But this might be the second best fight of the night for sure. Moving on to Randy Brown versus Nicolas Dalby. I almost don't even want to talk about this fight. Don't get fooled by this record. Like I'm probably just gonna say that Nicolas Dalby's 40 years old, boys. He is 40 years old. Do you look at the odds? Minus 230. I mean, the odds are not that much of a different, not a big difference, but guys, Nicolas Dalby is 40 years old. This is not George Foreman, guys. Nicolas Dalby is not George Foreman. I'm not even going to talk about these two characteristics. I don't even know if I said that right. But Nicolas Dalby is 40 years old. I'm so sorry to count this man out, but he's 40 years old, man. You need to think about retirement. I'm not even going to talk about this fight. Randy Brown by decision. Easy. And Michael Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. These two gas tanks are absolutely hideous. The odds are minus 155. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of confidence on Michael Pereira. I don't know, man. But look, Both of these dudes, like I said, gas tanks are very, very bad. Pereira is explosive, flashy, and very dangerous in the early rounds. Abus Nurmagomedov showed good grappling against Bruno Silva, but overall, he hasn't, he doesn't really hold up well against under pressure. Pereira can definitely catch him in the first round, like a crazy spinning kick or flying knee or like insane wild hooks. You know how Michael Pereira is. The guy's basically unpredictable. If Abu survives round 1, that's where it gets interesting. But I'm picking Pereira at the end of the day to land some big shots and end the fight in round 2. Michael Pereira, round 2 KO. Bucket. Moving on to Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. Yo, that name is actually kind of cool. David Onama. That's actually a cool name. David Onama is the favorite for this fight. This one's going to be fun. Giga is very, very surgical round 1. This guy always comes out in round 1. It's just like he's the most surgical fucking fighter of all time. He has nasty body kicks, sharp counters, but he fades. That's the only problem. He just boom to the ground, fades. Onama is very chaotic. He gets like dropped all the time, but he also comes back. He always comes back. And I think Giga wins the first round looking slick, but Onama's pressure and toughness is just gonna take him over, to be honest. He's just going to be too overwhelming. It really depends if Giga can hurt him early bad. If he doesn't really hurt him bad early, I don't see him really winning this fight. But if he doesn't hurt him in the first round, I think I see Osama taking round 2 and 3 by just pure pressure. And yeah, and I think I'm just going to go with David Onama. I think the pressure is going to be too much. I don't think he's going to be able to hurt him really, really bad in the first round. So David Onama by decision. Moving on to a very, very sad fight tonight. Or that day, not tonight. It's not tonight. That day. Because what the hell is Anthony Smith still doing in the UFC, boys? This is just sad, man. Just looking at this is sad. Jesus Christ. Look, I really hate this matchup for Smith. Like, my goodness gracious. Zhang Mingyang has some crazy power and throws elbows like he's trying to like end people's careers. Like, this man's elbows are absolutely insane. And don't get me wrong, look, Anthony Smith is tough, but he rarely he is tough. But he gets hurt a lot. I could see it. Look, I know he's going to get hurt in this fight, and I could see him getting back up and eating like a bomb and just getting overwhelmed against the cage. And I don't think we're going to see like a knockout cold KO, but like, you know how he usually, you just keep punching him, and he just crumbles and goes into like a fetal position. You guys know the classic Anthony Smith, the guy that can beat everyone on paper. I think this is Anthony Smith's last fight. I think this is it right here, boys. This is going to be the statement last win. This is just sad to see because he should have been retired already. He should have just been doing his podcast. He should have just been in the analyst desk, whatever he's doing in the UFC. He should have just been done, man. I don't know what you're doing in the UFC, man. This is just going to be sad to see. And yeah, man, I'm going to go with Zhang Mierdang via knockout. I don't know what round. Actually, I'm going to go via TKO. I'm going to go TKO, not knockout. TKO, I don't know what round. I'm just going to go with TKO. Zhang Mierdang. Jesus Christ, that's going to be a sad, sad freaking match. And now to the main event of the evening. Introducing first. Look, man. Look, man. Look at the odds. Let me see the odds. Minus 22. You know, these odds should be further apart, man. Ian Garry, this is going to be a cakewalk for Ian Garry. You guys saw my video about Ian Garry versus Carlos Prates. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But Ian Garry, look, this one's going to be wild. Gary's super slick, great distance management, smart, good jiu-jitsu, but he's been really conservative lately. He doesn't commit to anything big. He just picks a guy at range. Prates, on the other hand, this guy has freak power. Literally freak power for the welterweight division. He touches guy with jabs and he hit the floor like Magny did. Jingliang. He's made them look like they basically got freaking sniped with a 50 caliber. Like, you should go watch those fights if you haven't watched them. If Garry can get him down and hold him, he could work towards a submission. But if he stays on the feet for too long, it's only a matter of time before Prates lands something. He needs to get him on the ground. Gary's good, got a good chin, but Prates has the kind of power that that power does not care how good of a chin you have, okay? I think this ends with Ian Garry getting a very boring decision. And I can admit to it. I think Ian Garry's just going to get a boring decision against Prates, but it's going to be a dominant, boring decision. That's just going to be it. The round one, I think, is going to definitely go to Carlos Prates because he knows Ian Garry is going to play very conservative, like he's been doing his last few fights. But other than that, I see round one going to Prates, and then all the other rounds, I just give them to Ian Garry. Maybe round two, I just don't see Carlos Prates getting a lot of rounds from Ian Garry. Like, I don't want to call this a sweep, but Ian Machado Garry will play this so safe. I'm telling you, they're going to call this a boring fight. People probably don't believe me right now, but watch when the fight happens. He's going to play very safe. And that's going to be it for my prediction for this entire card. This card is, on paper, of course, because this hasn't happened yet. It's like meh, a meh card, There's only like 3 good fights in here. And yeah, let's just hope this is like not a snoot fest, because I don't want to fall asleep while this fight is on. But yeah, with that being said, make sure you leave a like. Let me know what you think about my prediction in the comment section. And I'll see everyone very soon. Goodbye.